Another important story which is coming in, a State Bank of India research report titled Deciphering Emerging Trends in ITR Filing has revealed that the growth in the average income of the middle-class Indians over the past decade. The report predicts a promising future with the average income anticipated to further increase to over 49 lakh by 2047. This growth will be driven by a combination of more individuals filing taxes and a shift in the distribution of tax filers from the lower to the higher income strata. Armed with this report, the BJP has claimed the vindication on the economic front, where they have found often to be in the line of fire. They've also argued that the Indian middle class has grown bigger under the BJP regime. The opposition has said that the research has not taken inflation into account.
सर, जो ये SBI की रिपोर्ट आई है, सबसे पहले तो इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं, जो कह रही है कि फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2022 में 14.5 लाख मिडिल क्लास की इनकम
देखिए, एक चीज़ आपको समझना होगा। अगर फ्रेजाइल इकोनॉमी टाइप 5 इकोनॉमी में परिवर्तित हुई है, अगर जो है वो पूरी दुनिया के आर्थिक संकट और कंटक को पछाड़ करके भारत जो है वो सबसे तेज़ी से बढ़ती हुई अर्थव्यवस्था साबित हुई है, तो निश्चित तौर से हर व्यक्ति पर इसका असर पड़ेगा, इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा। हर व्यक्ति जो है इसका जो है पॉजिटिव हिस्सेदार भागीदार बनेगा, और वही बात सामने आ रही है। वो दिक्कत क्या है ना, जिन्होंने उदारवाद को उधारवाद में बदल दिया था, जिन्होंने अपने शासनकाल में 10 सालों में जब बच्चा पैदा होता था तो 15,000 का कर्ज लेकर पैदा होता था, वो आज जो है वो जो इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म हुआ है, जो इकोनॉमिक इफेक्ट हुई, अर्थव्यवस्था मजबूत हुई है, उस पर अगर सवाल करें तो मजाक है, इससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं।
I am really not aware of this report, but if the State Bank has released it, if they are the source, they would probably be taking it on the basis of those people who are approaching them for loans, etc. There, a couple of things could have happened. One is the number of taxpayers. That itself has, the tax bracket has more than doubled. If the exemption earlier was, let us say, 2 lakhs, if it is 5 lakhs today, so 2.5 times the base itself has increased. That is one thing. So a lot of people would have slipped out of the tax bracket at the lower end. The other thing is that on the field, it does not seem to show that. Neither has the GDP tripled. I doubt if the country's GDP has tripled. The average income is based on the GDP of the country, where you divide it by the population, etc. So I don't see that as having happened.
Well, let me cut across to my colleague Pallavi, who will give us more perspective on the story. Whether it's economical or political, this has been one issue on which the opposition has often cornered the Modi government. Pallavi, what is this report? What does it tell us? And how does it augment the narrative of the BJP that India has grown despite the problems like inflation?
Well, as you must have noticed, one of the main traits of the opposition parties, and particularly the India front opposition parties, is that there is economic misery all around. I mean, repeatedly they keep on putting out messages and sound bites where they talk about the fact that how there's massive unemployment, inflation, and people are getting poorer and poorer by the day. That is a nail which I think this report, the BJP hope, is able to kind of pierce and make the point that these allegations which have been coming in from the opposition parties are absolutely incorrect. There are two important parts of this report. One especially is the fact that how middle class is actually showing an upward mobility movement, which means they're not going down, they are going up. And there are more and more people who are climbing up that ladder. And therefore, to say that there's economic misery and gloom all around is absolutely unfair. Second thing is that there is income tax collections are increasing. More and more people are filing income tax returns. And in fact, according to reports, 65% of those who are filing the ITR are also going to be moving up the ladder. So for the BJP ahead of the state as well as the Lok Sabha elections, this comes a major boost, and they're certainly going to use it repeatedly to make the point that our economic policies are sound. It's leading to development of people. It's also leading to infrastructural development because we are also earning more revenue by means of more income tax returns being filed.
Pallavi, I also want to take in a perspective from you in terms of number and data, because you've covered Finance Ministry and Planning Commission as well. Often the opposition has argued that there is important data which is not being released by the government like it was earlier. So the metric to measure whether any real growth or development has happened or not, those tools are not available. In fact, I remember there was some controversy about GDP, how it was being calculated, or how certain other metrics which relate to the Indian economy were not being calculated at par. I believe we've lost that line with Pallavi. We'll just get back to Pallavi and get more perspective on the story. But as my colleague Pallavi was pointing out, there has been a lot of debate about how Indian economy has done, what it can do in the coming times, and has the Modi government really delivered on the promise of growth and development. For an aspiring and a developing country like India, the real metric of growth is how many people have come out of poverty. Poverty, how is it defined by the Planning Commission? How is it defined by the Niti Aayog? And on those metrics, how have they fared? I presume, Pallavi, you must have heard my question. I was asking you about the numbers and the metrics which are available and not available. Please talk us through them.
You know, you're absolutely right, really, Anusha, because when we were listening to the multiple opposition voices this morning, not many of them are willing to buy this report. They point out, look at the kind of yardstick or the kind of benchmark you're using as far as filing this particular report is concerned. And therefore, they are not completely convinced by this SBI report. They say we have to look at the real figures which are going to start coming in. And also, according to RBI itself, projections which are coming across, there is going to be an increase in inflation in the next quarter, which is of course in September, October. So therefore, there is nothing for us to cheer completely. They should be taken with a pinch of salt. And I think in an election season, there is bound to be this kind of a trade-off which is going to take place. There's bound to be these war of words which are going to take place between the government on one side and the opposition parties on the other.
The official parties on the other. Come 2024, Pallavi, economy and development, inflation, price rise. Say, for example, right now the price of tomatoes that has dominated the political discourse. That's going to be one key issue that the opposition talks about. And the government must have enough data in its armor to defend itself.
Well, I think that pressure will certainly mount from the opposition parties on the government. I mean, you know, they've always been very reticent about the figures or statistics which have been rattled off coming in, you know, with the Moody's projections and others and so on and so forth. So that kind of reservation will always coming in from the opposition parties. But, you know, I mean, as I said, in an election season, both the sides are going to use the argument to their advantage and they're going to see it the way they really want to see it.
They will see it the way they really want to see it. Pallavi, taking in a sense from you about the general elections and how much of this big issue will dominate the political discourse in the run-up to 2024. I'm short of time. We have to slip into a very short break. But this story about economy, employment, inflation, the real growth metrics of the country, we'll continue to track all of those voices here on CNN News 18, slipping into a very short break.